Hello, good morning, and welcome to Pattern Making with Let Morris. I trust all is well with everyone that's tuning in or watching with Let Morris. I am going to be doing today carrying on with some skirts. So I'm doing another skirt today, but just before I start to go through the lesson and how to make the pattern for this skirt, I just want to welcome those who are joining for the first time, who has been looking and following. I just want to give a shout out telling you thanks, and just to say that I'm praying for you all, that all will be well with you and your family. Now, wherever you are today, whether you're watching in the morning, afternoon, or evening, I just want to welcome you, and I hope you will be able to follow. And if you're not understanding, if you don't understand something, if you can't follow, please message me and let me know how I can be of value to you. And I hope all of this will be value to you as you watch and see how different things are done from block, because I am one that do all that I do from blocks, and I know that we can achieve so much from the blocks once you have established a very good fitting block. So we're going to be starting with this design by using our blocks, but you need to have your tools, and I'll just give you a moment to get your tools. Some of the tools, just recap: your pencils, your scissors, your tape measure, your tracing wheel, your ruler, your sellotape. These are some of the things that you need. And most importantly, you need your paper, whether it's plain paper, brown paper, spot and cross paper, whatever paper you need, because you establish your pattern. Once you've established your patterns, you can use that over and over again. So the advantage of making your patterns from blocks is that you're able to go back to it and you have exactly the same thing that you created from the very, very beginning. So I hope you're ready. And today, this is the style that we'll be doing. I'd call that a balloon skirt. It's ballooned at the bottom, and it's puffy. So this is the skirt that we'll be doing today. It's got no waistband. I'm going to be lining this skirt. It's got a design feature, which is the yoke, which we've got on there. We have it back and front. We've got a zip in the back. So we've got no waistband on this skirt. So I'm just going to go through this, show you how we arrive at this. Hopefully we can do this in 2 stages. The most, it will be 3. So here we go. So this is the skirt that we're going to be doing. And once again, we start off with our blocks. I've got your blocks on here, which is your front and your back. And what I've already done, I've pre-done, I've marked them all out, and I've put on my darts, my information darts on here, and I now can put my blocks away because I've got them marked here. So whatever I do, I'm going to do it on this draft that I've got here. So number one, I'm going to decide on the style features that I want. And the style feature here is like a yoke we've got here. And it's not a straight yoke. It's slightly shaped, on coming down at the center front, going up at the side. So we're going to create that. So I've literally marked on here in broken lines where I want this curve to be on my block for the design that I'm doing. This doesn't say it has to be like that. You can have it pointed, you can have it high up 2 inches from the waist, and I've kept mine like about 4 inches down from the waistline here, but you could go up to 2 inches and bring that around. So what I've done is I've broken the lines and marked them. I'm going to draw them on solid so that you can see more clearer. So this is the line that I'm going to use. So I'm going to draw them on the back and front block. So at the moment I've got my waist darts in. I don't need my waist darts, so I'm going to get rid of those. The next thing I've got to decide is on how long do I want this skirt to be. And I've already decided that. I'm going to make it 20 inches. So I've marked square line across on both. So this is my lines that I'm going to use. My skirt from my waist to there, from my waist to there. And I've already established that, and I've drawn it onto my draft. So once I've got that, I'm going to cut out the shape that I've got here, and I'm going to create my yokes. Those are the first thing I'm going to do. So if I just cut out the shapes on here, I'm going to cut out the front. I'm going to start off with the front. I'm going to cut out the front here. I'm going to cut on the waistline, and I'm going to cut all the way down. I'll cut the whole thing out, and then I'm going to separate my yoke. We're going to call that a yoke that we've created, marked on the skirt. So I've cut out, that's my front section. So once I've cut out my front section there, I put the back away. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to separate this section here like that. And I'm going to close my dart out, and my dart is going to be transferred into that shape. So this is how I go about it. I'll get another sheet of paper, because I'm going to fold on the paper, because I want my pattern to be a fold on this edge. At the moment it's single, so I'm going to fold my paper like that, and I'm going to cut out on that shape here, my yoke. This is my yoke section. I'm going to separate it. You can cut it out or you can trace it off, but in this case I'm going to cut mine out. So I've separated the piece. As you can see, they're both separated. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to extend my dart line to touch the bottom of this line here, like that. And then I'm going to cut on my dart line. Doesn't matter this side, or it doesn't, you can cut on this side. So whatever side you cut on, it doesn't really matter. So you cut all the way down to the end of the dart, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to place the edge, center front edge, on the fold edge of my paper, and I'm going to close the dart out like that. So what I'm doing, I'm bringing that line to this line here. So that's closing it, and as I close it like that, they touch, the edges are touching. I'm getting the dart swinging into there, right? So we're still going to have a nice shape for the fit of our skirt. So we close that shape out like that, and you can see how it's slightly swinging around. So now that you've closed it out and it's on the fold edge, you then mark out the top of your waist. Now the top of the waist has got no darts now, because we've closed it and we've swung it into this seam here. So you then mark around the shape that you have here to there, like that, and the top and the side. Once you've done that, you can put that away, and now we get in that shape. So all we do now, we've just got to smooth up our lines along there and smooth it along here. You can use your curve if you haven't got a good steady hand. And then I'll just, with my ruler, I'll just extend the side line up to the top like that. So now this is the shape that we've got. It's slightly curved here. The reason why that is curved, because we've swung the dart from there into there. So once you've done that, all we do is just add the seam allowance. We've got a centimetre on the top like that, and we've got a centimetre down the side along here, and a centimetre at the bottom here. So we just add our centimetre seam. So that is now a seam allowance all added on, because you've got to remember you have no seam allowance on your block. So once we've got that, we then cut out the yoke. We cut out that shape like that, and the same process we do for the back when we've when we come to do the back. We do the exact same thing, so it's straightforward. So now that we've got our pattern piece, we then open out. So this is our yoke top, and then we just put our grain line in the center. So that is our grain line here, and this is now our our front. We're going to write on there front yoke, and we're going to cut one self, right, and we're going to cut one lining, because we're going to be lining this garment. We haven't got any waistband. So that is your front yoke section there, all finished. And the next thing we've got to do now is we're going to decide, which we have, how much we want the bubble to be, the puffing. So I'm going to make my top section longer than the bottom section underneath. So I'm going to make it 2 inches shorter on the underneath. So I'm going to do that one first. So before I slash and open out, I'm going to use my bottom section of the skirt, and I'm going to mark around that like that, and I'm going to mark around to the bottom like that, remembering you've got no seam allowance, and I'm going to shorten it by 2 inches because I want it to be, you know, puffed up by 2 inches. So I'm going to measure up 2 inches from the bottom like that, and I'm going to take that off. And now square the line out. I'm going to take that off, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add your seam allowance along here, which is 1 centimeter, and I'm going to add 1 centimeter along the side, because that is the amount that we need on our side seam. So we just come around centimeter, and you can curve that round so that you can get, we can get a good line. Follow it round till it touches back at the side. So that's your centimeter along there, and then we put a centimeter on the hem, because that's the amount we need to stitch to the top. So that is now the bottom section of the skirt, but this is the under section of the skirt, right? So we're going to cut that in lining. You can cut that in self if you want, if you've got enough material, but I would say cut it in the lining. So that is your bottom half of the skirt. We're going to be cutting in lining. You can open that out now, because that's on the, we've marked that out on the fold. And this is your grain line along here, and you say your grain line, and we're going to cut one lining. That is your under skirt. So that is your underskirt piece. So the next thing we're going to do, we go back to this bit now, and we're going to slash this so that we can open out. So I'm going to divide this into 3 sections. Yeah, roughly about there. You divide it up into 3 sections. You can measure it. And once you divide that up into 3 sections, you're going to get another sheet of paper. I'm going to fold that over as well, because I want that to be on the fold. And I'm going to fold that like that. And I'm going to label it so that you know 1, 2, and 3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slash up there and slash there, because I don't want any fullness to be in there, but all I want is the fullness to be at the bottom. So whatever this measurement is here, for example, if that is 10 inches, we're going to open it out so that the whole of the, from there to there, is 20 inches. Why we're doing it once again, 10 plus 10, 20, so that we can gauge it back into 10. You can do 20, you can do 1.5 times if you want. If you want that to be really puffy, and full. So what we're going to do is open. We're going to slash here like this, and we're going to open out like that. We're going to slash up on these lines here up to the top, but not right through. And we're going to place the first one onto the fold edge, and then we're going to spread out, open them out evenly in the space. So if we've got 10 inches before on the bottom, which is our lining, we've got 10 inches, we're going to open it out till it's 20. So we've got enough to be very full to gather, because it's got to be gathered back into that underskirt that we've just made. So we open out, make sure it's even, we got it even spaced out, and it's measuring 20, right? So once you've got that, you then mark around the rest of your skirt while you sellotape it down. You make sure it's firm, and you mark along the bottoms of the pieces, because we're going to then get a nice curve. So once you've done that, it's all opened out, we're going to move those off, and then we're going to get nice smooth lines going round to the center front like that. And then from the bottom, we're going to curve it, make sure we touch at those points all the way around like that. And then what I normally do, I normally take off about an inch from here, because that's going on the bias when you cut that out on your fabric, so that line will drop. So I normally take off an inch and a half from the bottom up, and then I curve it back into my front so that it doesn't drop down, or if it allowing for the drop. So we take that off. So I'm going to take that off there and give it a nice curve. You can curve it around with your curve, so you get a nice curve into there, back into your front, center front. So you get a nice line. So once you've got that, you can take that line off. You don't need that line, so you've got a nice curve. And then all we do is just add our seam allowance on there. So I'll just straighten that line up, a nice straight line along there, centimeter long. You follow that around the curve, slightly curved there, round, around, and back up to where you've marked your yoke line. And then you just put your seam allowance on around there, and then you only need a centimeter on the bottom to stitch to your lining. So we just add that around your centimeter, and that's the bottom of your skirt. And we're going to cut, we say that at least your front skirt, and you're going to cut one of those. So that is the fronts all finished. So that is your lining piece. That you're going to gauge all of that onto here, so it gives you the puff, and that piece will fit back into that area like that, with your yoke at the top of it underneath. So you're cutting 2 yokes, 1 lining, and 1 fabric for the top section of the skirt. So that is your front section complete. So I'm going to cut that out, and then we're going to go on to the back. I'm going to break. So this is your stage 1 of the skirt, and this is how we create the skirt. If you want to do a shorter skirt, you can do it shorter, but you must always remember your top section of your skirt have to be longer than the underneath of your skirt to allow for your puff. So this is how we create the balloony puff hem skirt. So these are the pattern pieces, and then once you've cut that out, you just we do a grain line in the center where we fold it like that, and then our front section is completed. So the pieces that we need is the underskirt, which is straight all the way down, but the the top bottom of the skirt is flared out, allowing for the gauging to be gauged back onto the bottom of the skirt. So these are the two pieces, top yoke and the underneath lining and the top section of the skirt. So there we go. We will be back, and this is the skirt that we're doing here. We've just created the top. We've got no waistband at the top. All we did, we're going to be lining it, and it has no waistband. So that is the top. So we're going to come back to the back in a few seconds. So we'll just break now. See you soon. We'll be back. Bye.